New report shows that Filipino mobile users are increasingly worried about fraud, identity theft, and scams driven by artificial intelligence, or AI. I have to say I am one of those people. To talk more about this, we are joined by Roeckl, Chief Product Officer of cybersecurity firm Appdome. Good morning, Chris. Thanks for being with us here.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
You've come a long way. Thank you for. I'm pleased to have you in the studio.
All the way from Silicon Valley,
exactly.
California.
The heart of all things high tech and AI. So before we get to AI, I want you to talk me through this report that you guys had released. There are some very sobering numbers in there. So more than 43% of people that you surveyed in the Philippines said that they are worried about identity fraud. And in fact, that's the top concern.
It is.
What's behind that number?
Well, let's actually unpack it in a slightly different way.
Okay.
Right. So the big worry here in the Philippines, a mobile-first economy, is that account takeovers, fraud, is happening on a very increasing rate. So to use some local numbers, right, fraudulent activity in the Philippines has reached last year a rate of 4 trillion pesos. Last year.
In losses.
In losses.
Oh my gosh.
Right. And what's happening is that almost 80% of that now is from what are called account takeovers, social engineering scams, and those types of non-credit card theft losses. Right. And so the citizens here are feeling this, right? They're the victims of it, right? And so that's what our survey is reflecting. Right, and that they have these concerns over, is my mobile app safe?
Right.
Are my transactions safe?
Right.
And how do I protect myself? And the big challenge is consumers can't protect themselves. The technology, the bad actors out there simply are too sophisticated for consumers to protect themselves.
I mean, they're not completely without agency. I mean, the banks do a good job of reminding people to not give out your OTPs and, make sure you change your passwords every so often. You're smiling. Is that not enough?
That is definitely
okay.
That is definitely not enough.
Okay.
The sophistication of attacks and threats out there is just too great, and AI is fueling this fire, unfortunately, because now attackers can use AI-based tools to accelerate the threats that they launch on individuals.
Right.
So really the responsibility is shifted from consumers like you and me to the actual mobile brands themselves to protect consumers and their own financial systems, right? So they have the responsibility both to the consumer and to themselves.
Give me a specific example of that, of AI, of hackers, scammers using AI tools to, launch more sophisticated attacks. I mean, I know phishing is a big problem in the Philippines.
Yes.
So you're looking at AI-powered phishing techniques?
It goes beyond that at this point. So if you take an example like social engineering, there are now attacks out there where you'll have fake versions of the SSS app. And people will be called by an agent posing as someone from the government.
Right.
That will lure somebody to download this
That
fake.
will sound very convincing.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. Convince somebody to download a fake version of the app and be actually able to take over an individual's phone, capture their credentials, and then from there, they've got access to the accounts and they can start siphoning off money and have access to all of these accounts. And so in this moment, how is a consumer able to protect themselves?
Because you didn't even hand over the data.
No.
Right? So
no,
they just did it in the back end.
Correct. They basically, by installing that fake app, they're able to put the phone to sleep, basically put it in do not disturb mode.
Right.
And then take over the phone unknowingly to the consumer who took that call and installed that fake app.
Oh my gosh, thereby gaining control over all their apps, all their banking apps, all their insurance apps, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it's very insidious. I mean, there are tools and technologies that can actually now help and solve and
Right.
stop these types of attacks. That's the message, is
Right.
that, and there's two parts to it. One is there's a technology solve for it. I think the bigger issue is that the technology is going so fast. It's in order to, you have bad actors who have tools with AI, and the only way to win is you have to use AI to stop it.
Right, right. So what are some of these more sophisticated tools to combat these identity attacks? I mean, and I mean, to be fair to the companies, especially the banks as well, I know they're constantly playing catch up when it comes to these cybersecurity and tools and processes, right?
Yeah, and it's really time to change the game, if you will, because the old ways of solving kind of mobile security problems of doing lots of manual coding, it's over. Really, what mobile businesses need to do is switch to really more digital workflows that automate their processes for implementing security and being able to do full automations, because they're under resource constraints themselves.
Right.
How do you build technology to solve for all the new types of attacks? Doing all that work, behind a keyboard, trying to pay people to keep up with it, you just can't do it. You need to move to automated workflows with AI-based systems to be able to keep up and stay ahead of the threat, as it were, within this mobile defense challenge.
Right. So you're looking at a complete overhaul of the workflow, not just leaving it to the IT department to, buy the latest version of anti-hacking software.
Yeah, you can't just keep picking tools off the shelf and saying, okay, this is good enough. You really need to have a system approach.
Right.
And it's something that in our little corner of the world of mobile, which isn't really such a little corner of the world. I mean, if you look at the number of mobile apps, there's something like 7 million mobile apps in the world.
And people are still launching apps here.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And the density rate of mobile phones in the Philippines is staggering.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just an amazing mobile first economy. These mobile phones aren't going away anytime soon. And it's pretty simple, actually, for these mobile businesses to make those types of changes.
I heard a CIO once told me, and it's always stuck with me. He says, in any organization, the weakest link is always the people, right?
Yeah.
So how do you combat that? I mean, because education is one part of it, but not everybody's interested in it, and not everybody takes cybersecurity courses if you're in a company. To be kept abreast of all the ways that hackers can try to steal your identity. So what's the answer there?
Well, I think that's where you have to rely on your suppliers and your cybersecurity team to lean on each other to help do that. But from a systematic perspective, Appdome as a supplier of this type of technology, we have 75 dedicated engineers on one side of the equation. We have almost 40 cyber researchers. So we provide a way in order to keep them constantly updated with the latest threats and attacks. And that's part of our value to them, right? So that they don't have to think about what's the next thing. They can focus on the safety of not only their systems, but part of what we really zero in on is making sure that they're delivering a great user experience for all of us consumers who need to be protected. Right? That is really core to the mission, and should be core to the mission of anybody who's in mobile app security. Is how are we making sure that the workflows that we're implementing and delivering don't affect the experience of you and me trying to get things done. We're trying to buy things, and we want to do it safely.
Do our work.
And do our work. Get things done.
Absolutely. Speaking of consumers, let me come back to your report. There's
please.
another statistic there. It says 34% say, oh, not that one, sorry. Nearly 75% say they have deleted or abandoned apps as a result of all these attacks. Talk me through that.
This is an amazing statistic. we have been doing this survey now for 5 years, right? So we have, this isn't like a one-shot
Right.
data point.
Yeah.
This is a tracking survey, and this is a very consistent piece of data. So what this says is that if consumers in the Philippines do not feel safe about an app, they will abandon. And it's a two-sided coin here, right? If I'm a mobile app owner, I'm a mobile brand. The thing you always have to keep in mind is the switching costs within a mobile. The barrier is very low.
Right.
If I want to
Of
switch,
course.
if I want to
Yeah.
switch banks,
Yeah.
do I have to go to a branch?
Yeah.
No.
There's so many digital
Right.
bank options now.
Right? I can just delete that app, move my money somewhere else. So mobile brands really need to think about this, that I need to be able to prove my security, because if I don't, those people are walking. And that can be a real damage to my business.
So that's a real cost of business.
It is.
And not to mention the reputational risk.
Correct. And the other component of that is, 70% of those consumers value high levels of privacy, right? So you got to be thinking about protecting them, and on the same notion, right, knowing that they're gonna walk out the door if I'm not thinking about these types of attacks and threats.
And finally, Chris,
Yes.
34%, that's the figure that I mentioned earlier, say that they know someone who's been a victim of attacks. I mean, that's not surprising to me, but put that into context. How does that compare to other countries or other jurisdictions?
It is actually a little bit lower than some other, not much.
Yeah.
Right. There are some amazing markets. We're a global company,
Right.
and the Philippines market is one of the key mobile first markets. Another one for us is Brazil, which has a little bit of a higher rate, but sad to say it's in the top 3. But it's amazing for everybody here who's behind the camera. That means that 2 or 3 of us are in that statistic,
Right,
that
absolutely.
we know
I know
somebody.
a lot of people who've fallen prey, and particularly for those who use digital banks.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's one big criticism or fear of digital banks that
Yeah.
a lot of people have here, I think. So, but we shall leave that there.
All right.
Bottom line,
Bottom line,
institutions need to think of this holistically.
They do. They need to think about it as a system-level approach and to rethink how to focus on workflows rather than trying to pull pieces off the shelf like they're at a grocery store.
The old ways of doing things don't work anymore. We'll leave that there. Thank you so much for explaining
you.
all of that to us. That was Chris Roeckl, Chief Product Officer of cybersecurity firm Appdome.